Look, it's like the Quran, the way it was written. Supposing only my recordings survived of what was the Christian faith, your view of the Christian faith would now be what you glean from, in this case, someone writing or recording, Marshall, who is very sceptical about much of the literature and stuff out there, and the tradition. So the bits I praise, and if I were very much pro it, you would only have the bits that I praise, and you would gather this was the original religion. No, I've singled it down to what I take as of value, and what I think is wrong I point out. And so you now have a religion that is basically what I value, with criticisms of what was existing before. And a great deal of what was existing before I simply haven't mentioned because it wasn't relevant to me. I didn't find it useful. It wasn't valuable. Do you see latter people only armed with what Marshall said in his recordings 200 years ago, say? You know, they likewise would be sifting out what's of value, what they disagree with, and what they ignore, dividing them accordingly, and not mentioning that which they ignore. So you're really finding what of the past was relevant in so-and-so's present, because we've only received so-and-so's present view. And you now give your view, and if yours is the only literature or recordings that survive, then future generations will only have what your view is now, including what you've missed out is just not mentioned, and what you disagree with is cited as a heresy from your point of view. So you find that you are manufacturing through the aeons, really, I don't know, through the centuries, you are manufacturing the scripture that seems to work best for society at any given time. So quite apart from whether there's interference from the state, which there clearly is, from Constantine and so on in the case of the Christian religion, Persians and so on in the case of Quran, if indeed the Persians didn't virtually give birth to the Quran through their advice to perhaps someone like Muhammad, sifting out what they could build on and putting in what they thought would be a good idea. But what happens through time is it gets sifted according to what is acceptable at the time. And you end up with the received wisdom of your culture and society. Partly historical, mostly historistical, if there is such, there's no such word, but you know what I mean, don't you? It's what you've chosen to believe because you know this fits in your age, in your culture, in your generation. And it gets into the literature and other things get pushed out. Why can't we find original documents prior to the, written Christian era of, argued to be 60 AD onwards, 120, 130 AD, probably because there weren't any. So what was written was sifted from what the writer thought was truly of value and truly what he wanted to be received. as the words of Jesus or the words of Paul, whether they existed or not. He would sift that from the information he's got, whether it's written or not, written perhaps and now lost, or just not, just partly hearsay of what the Jesus story was. And different writers write different things, and later generations drop a lot of the literature because it doesn't fit with the narrative they want. And that seems to fit from their point of view, their society, in their age. And we end up with the literature that we have now. And we find it's at variance with the geography, at variance with the history we've got from the secular point of view, at variance, say, with the relics that we can pick up, like the coinage and, references to other cultures at the time and confusions of history that we're pretty sure are confusions compared to the historical record we can make out. It's a bit more blatant when it comes to Islam, but it's well known when it came to Christianity. And probably so with the Hindu. Well, the Hindus at least recognize that there is no religion called Hinduism. There's a variety of Indian beliefs which have just mixed together and if you like, inconsistencies and contradictions are accepted because they come from different faith views. It's not something necessarily to kill your neighbour over. It is sometimes though. I mean, a lot of Indians became Islamic and rather intolerant of what was already there. Yeah. But then Christians can argue the same too, can't they? I mean, the Crusades was hardly a demonstration of Christian tolerance towards the Muslim, was it? Oh yes, there was a great deal of literature that was extant, and still is. Pre-Christian canon coming together. In fact, the canon came together precisely because there was so much literature out there, what's valid and what's not. And they chose what was valid and what was not, from their understanding, their point of view, their beliefs, as at that stage, and the people specifically that were putting the canon together. And it's argued, of course, that it was for a Roman Empire people and with some influence from the governor himself, the emperor. Yes. But still the same sort of thing. What is appropriate to your culture? We had the same in Christianity later. I mean, Victorian England, the religion, come to the conclusion it was not good. It was not representing the bulk of the people. It wasn't, if you like, very democratic at all. It was a tyranny of royalty. And the religion reflected that. God is still, the king. The king's chosen by God, and the monarch is the head of the church. How strange. And there you get, not Protestant now, but nonconformists rising up and campaigning for the poor and campaigning for a new gospel. One that emphasized not so much obedience, but one that emphasized individual salvation much more strongly, and not just of the royalty and the elite, but very much of the poor. The slaves, perhaps we shouldn't have slaves after all, even if it is in the Bible. That was early on with the nonconformists, wasn't it? Before Victoria. But you can see this, and now Christianity's been hijacked by the nonconformist, isn't it? The great TV evangelists, they're not simply Protestant. They're nonconformists. The Benny Hinns of the world, they're not Anglican. Yes. Billy Graham, I suppose, is the nearest you get to an Anglican, and he wasn't. He was very much a nonconformist. You're out there preaching in the football stadiums. That's where I heard him. Ipswich football stadium. Massive crowd. Yeah. What did he talk about? Well, all I can remember, he was talking about his farm. Back in Texas or something. I don't know where it was in America. Do you see? It's the evolution of religion. And it's not necessarily by some demonic emperor that's steering things, keeping Sunday instead of Saturday and so on, because it's convenient, since he's solar invictus as well as being the emperor of a so-called Christian empire. I know what he means. Well, I had to break off here because going to church, would you believe? Oh, it was a good time at church. It was Father's Day. I'm not keen on Father's Day. It's been a bit torturous to me, some of my Father's Days in the past. But that's another story. But she was asking various people in the congregation, lady was running it, something about Jesus in their life. It was a testimony time, really. It's always so real, isn't it? Testimony time. You can have a sermon, 1,000 sermons, but a testimony, that can really get you. Stays in your mind, touches your heart, becomes real. Suddenly you're not playing church. Quite something. Anyway, yes, I went to church. So I'll pick up my ideas in the next recording. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.